What's the best tea for cold brew? In this video, we're going to compare 3 different sencha teas produced in Kagoshima to see which one makes the best cold brew. We have a list of the best cold brew teas like the Shizuku Sencha, Fukumushi Yamaga, and Katagane Sakamoto, but we're always on the lookout for more. Let's get started and see which one of these delicious cold brew green teas has the best flavor. Okay, so what we have here is 3 different cold brew teas. I wanted to conduct a test here to see which teas are the best for cold brew because summer's coming up and the weather's getting warmer and not everyone likes to drink hot tea in the summertime. So I wanted to come up with some alternatives, and one of the things I was thinking about doing is comparing 3 very different teas from the same farmer. So these teas are from Mr. Kawaji in Kagoshima, and we had the privilege of meeting with him a couple years ago and trying out a few of his teas, and we ultimately selected 3 of our favorites. And they are pretty similar, but there are some notable differences, and I wanted to see which one actually makes the best cold brew. So a little bit of background here. Mr. Kawaji specializes in the production of fukumushi, or deep steam teas. So these teas are steamed for an extra few seconds, and during that time the tea leaf is broken down and it actually is able to release more flavor into the water, for lack of a better word. So these teas tend to work very well as a cold brew, and I wanted to put that to the test. So when people ask us our favorite teas for cold brew, I'm quick to say the Fukumushi Yamaga no Sato, the Katagane Sakamoto, and the Gyokuro Sasahime, as well as the Shizuku Sencha, which is of course made for cold brew. But I wanted to come up with a list of some other teas that also work well, and because Fukumushi Sencha tends to work well, I wanted to test out some of the ones from Mr. Kawaji. So these are the 2 most well-known ones from Mr. Kawaji. We have the Kasuga-en Murasaki Sencha and the Kasuga-en Asatsuyu Sencha. So this one is made from the Asatsuyu cultivar, and this one is made from the Yutaka Midori cultivar. And the Yutaka Midori cultivar is really known for producing a really deep green color. And that brings us to the first point, which is the color difference of these teas. So I'm not revealing the labels yet, but what you'll notice is that just looking at them, this one seems to be by far the greenest. This one's a little bit lighter, and then this one is kind of the odd one out. It's much paler. And so this is actually not pictured here. This is the Kasuga-en Golden Sencha. So this is actually not a deep steam tea. This is a premium Sencha tea, one of his few non-deep steam teas. This would be a chumushi, or a normal steam tea. So I wanted to test this alongside the other 2 teas, which are deep steam teas, and you'll see the deep steam teas really take on these dark green colors. So let's go ahead and test this out. First, I'll kind of reveal which ones are which. This one is the Kasuga-en Murasaki Sencha. So this is this one here. Let's put that there. And then this one is the Asatsuyu. And then in the middle we have the Golden Sencha. So first I'm going to go ahead and start with this one. So the Asatsuyu first. Well, it's very good. Yeah, so the Asatsuyu, to me, it almost has this kind of sweet corn edamame flavor. It's a little bit drier, but it works quite well. Here I'm getting more of the sweetness because the cold water is actually going to extract less of the bitter flavors from the leaf. So you're going to end up with a smoother, almost fruitier flavor when you cold brew a tea. So this is really nice as like a refreshing drink. And here I almost get this kind of dried honey sweetness. It's really interesting. Yeah, it's kind of got this, kind of has this honey sweetness to it, which is really nice. There is a little bit of dryness towards the end. Yeah, it's not bitterness. It's just a little bit dry towards the end, which is quite nice. A little bit of astringency. And then the Murasaki. So this is kind of, these 2 teas are pretty similar. They just come from different cultivars. I'm noticing a much bolder flavor with this one. A little bit fruitier, and I'm definitely getting more minerality as well. So it kind of has this strong, tingling mineral mouthfeel to it. This one here is lighter, it's fresher, it's more citrusy, and this one is bolder but also fruitier. more mineral, and like a little bit of umami in it. So if you were to compare this to the hot versions of the tea, they're going to be much smoother because the hot water really extracts more of the catechins from the tea, and this is what's responsible for that bitter flavor. So if you don't like bitter teas, one of the things you can actually do is try it as a cold brew, and it'll be a completely different flavor. So now let's try the middle one. Yeah, this one doesn't work quite as well as a cold brew. So this is kind of a good lesson on a tea that doesn't work well as a cold brew because, in my opinion, at least with the teas that we sell, I would say probably more than half of them work quite well as a cold brew because a lot of them are gyokuro teas, which work well. A lot of them are fukumushi teas, which also work well. But the normal steamed senchas, the unshaded senchas that are not deep steamed, in my opinion, don't really work so great as a cold brew. Just to give you the ratio I use for each of these, I use these sample packs that come in our samplers, and each of them contains 5 grams of tea leaves. So I put 5 grams of leaves, I did 1 cup of room temperature water, and I stuck them in the fridge for 2.5 hours each. So normally I like to go up to 3 hours, but this time I just wanted to do a quick test, and I didn't want to overbrew the tea. But you can probably notice just looking at the color of the tea that this one is much less flavorful than these ones. And that probably has to do with the fact that it's not deep steamed, although it is also made from the Yabukita cultivar. And the Yabukita cultivar, it's possible that it doesn't work as well as a cold brew just because it's a little bit more on these vegetal flavors, which don't quite translate in a cold brew. Normally you want something a little smoother, a little fruitier, like a Yutaka Midori or an Okumidori or a Saimidori even. So yeah, this one's just a little bit too light, a little bit too fresh. It doesn't really have that kind of smooth, savory, slightly fruity characteristic that I like in a cold brew. Here you get a little bit of that citrusy fruit, which is nice. And then here, yeah, this one is very good. It's kind of got like sweet papaya, like tropical fruits. They come out, these notes are there in the hot brew, but they come out more in the cold brew. So just to make this interesting, make it a competition, I would say this is the best cold brew, the Murasaki Sencha. The second best would have to be the Kasuga and Asatsuyu. So definitely worth trying these two. The Golden Sencha I would not recommend preparing as a cold brew. It's better hot. Because when you prepare that tea hot, the Golden Sencha is meant to be like a celebration of these kind of grassy vegetal flavors that you get with the Japanese green tea, and it doesn't really translate with the cold water. So I'd recommend sticking to hot brewing with this tea, but these ones definitely I would recommend preparing them cold. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you liked this video. Hope you found it helpful. So again, our list of the best cold brew teas, I would say the Shizuku Sencha, definitely. Also the Fukumushi Yamaga, the Gyokuro Sasahime, the Karagane Sakamoto, even the Cookie Hojicha is good. It kind of has this chocolatey caramel flavor to it. It works really well cold. But also on that list, I would say the Kasuga and Murasaki Sencha is a very good cold brew. You can try this with other types of teas like oolong, black tea, but from our experience, the best is Japanese green teas. They really work the best as a cold brew. So thank you all so much for tuning in. If you want to support this channel, please go to neoteas.com and pick up some of this tea for yourself. We have an assortment of dozens of different types of teas that we've picked up during our travels around Japan, and we'd really love the opportunity to share them with you. But until then, we'll see you next time. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Okay, bye.